welcome Kumar Mangalam Birla to this very, very special edition of the Hindustan Times Leadership Summit. Especially apt, although this is not the reason we have him here. The reason we have him here is because he runs a really big group and a really old group. Also really apt that Hindustan Times was really a paper that was, in its early years, funded and founded by his great-grandfather, GD Birla. So very happy to have you here.
Good to be here, Sukumar. Thank you.
And I thought we would not do a CNBC quarterly results are out kind of interview. This is the Leadership Summit after all, and when you get an opportunity to speak to someone who runs a business that spans 41 countries, has around 185,000 employees, revenues of $65 billion, market cap of $100 billion, and more importantly, has been around in some form since 1857, which is the first war of Indian independence. It makes sense to talk about longevity. So in this, the 100th year of Hindustan Times, Kumar Birla is going to tell us his secret for longevity, right? And I'm going to start off by pointing out the fact that the average age of the company in the S&P index is only 22, right? And you look at all the big companies which are in the tech field. Google is only 28, Microsoft is only 49, Walmart, which is the company which is on top of the Fortune 500 listings, is only 62. So when you really look at a company that's been around in some form since 1857, you have to ask how, which is what I'm asking you, right? I mean, how do you...
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Sounds like an easy one, but requires some introspection. I think a few important things. One, of course, is that a company is not just a repository of shareholders' wealth. A company is much more than that. It's a repository of people's trust, especially the trust of shareholders, customers, suppliers. So I think trust and values is a very big part of it. Values for us is very important. I think that our values keep us together. The fact that we are so diversified across businesses, we have a multinational presence, different kinds of people and different businesses. Values is a very important thing that I think has passed down. It's something that you kind of absorb, you're indoctrinated into. So I would say it's values is a very big part of it. People, like you said, we are 185,000 strong people. I'm the only person from the family who's actively involved in running the business. My son was actively involved for 4 years, but he's away doing his MBA at Harvard, coming back in May. My daughter is involved partly, but her own business has grown much faster than she had thought. She's in microfinance. So they made an acquisition in the last 2 years. They've got private equity. So a lot of her time is taken up by that for now. So I think the fact that we are so large, diversified, I'm the only one from the family, obviously means that we are a very highly delegated and decentralized organization, which means that, as I call it, it's a people's organization. It's the people who run it, very people-focused, high performance, high accountability also, since it's so people-driven. And I think we're very invested in our people, invested in their careers, invested in adding intrinsic value to them. And I think the important thing there is that we're a meritocracy. So you rise up the ranks as fast as your performance. There's nothing really else that matters. So in many ways, your career is really in your own hands. So I think the two big pieces would be values, and the other would be the way you treat people, the kind of people you have, empowering them, treating them with respect is something that most people want more than just a higher paycheck. I'd say these are the two big pegs for us.
One of the things in business, and I used to be a business journalist for a long time, was that especially when you And I know there may be some multinational managers here, and your company is in some ways a multinational. But you know, when you look at the local arms of multinationals, there's a certain model on how they work, right? At least at the leadership level. The typical stint is for 3 years. So the first year is spent bad-mouthing your predecessor, right? And usually this is done by taking a huge charge. And then the second year you do whatever you have to do, and the third year you basically lobby for your next post, which you want to go to Europe or you want to go somewhere in Latin America or wherever. One of the things that strikes me when I look at organizations such as yours, which has been there for a long time, is really continuity, right? And I buy your fact about you being the only one from the family there and all that, but I would like to argue that, you know, the family does bring something to it, right? I mean, there is something that you have learned from your father, from your grandfather, which has sort of distilled down. What is that?
Yeah, that's very distinct, and I think that's about values. Again, I think that the fact that, you know, my great-grandfather, GD Birla, was a very close associate of Mahatma Gandhi. And he fully embraced this, what we call a socio-economic concept of trusteeship, which means that companies are not just emblems of capitalism. They're also institutions of collective prosperity. So it was a more nuanced, you know, sort of description of what a private company should be. And that kind of ethos or philosophy has come down the generations. It's something that's very deeply ingrained. I can't tell you exactly how it functions, but it functions all the time when you're taking an important decision. This is something, you know, it's like being in the DNA. And again, I think it's about people. It's how you, you know, how you treat people. It's about how much, you know, like I said, in our case, we're a people's organization. We truly are. And, you know, people feel empowered. People feel accountable. People know that we invest in them. And that gives a different sort of a sense of commitment. You know, for example, I have more than 4,000 people who've been with me for 20 years and more. So that also brings about continuity because, you know, they've lived with the organization, they've done different things, they've played different roles, they've been in different countries, different businesses. But the fact is that, you know, we've all grown up together. So of course there is continuity in terms of family legacy. I think legacy is very important. But I think the fact that you have employees who are high performers and who've been with the company a long time also brings about an element of continuity.
What is, you know, I really want to know more, so I'm going to ask you a follow-up in a very specific way. What is the one business lesson which you repeatedly give your children?
You know, I mean, I think we don't give our children lessons. That was meant for the generation before us. We're more the sandwich generation. But I think one thing that I learned from previous generations and one thing that I do tell my children is that there are no shortcuts. That's again very ingrained in our way of doing business. That's a legacy that's come down. And if I look back at the last 30 years of my being there, I don't think we've achieved anything that's significant on account of taking a shortcut. So whatever we've achieved, you know, we've gone through the rough and tumble of it. We've gone through the whole 9 yards. No shortcuts, I think, is a very important one for me, also for my children. I can see it in them.
Kumar Bangalam Birla, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kumar. Thank you.
I would like to welcome Mr. Anil Agarwal, founder of the Vedanta Group, and Priya Agarwal Hebar, who is the chairperson of Hindustan Zinc, to this special edition of the HT Leadership Summit. Mr. Agarwal, of course, is one of the OG entrepreneurs in India. Now he's presiding over a large natural resources conglomerate. And in this conversation, I thought we would touch upon you know, aspects of his entrepreneurship journey. I'd like to start by asking a very serious question, Mr. Agarwal. You are now a social media superstar, one of the few Indian industrialists who have taken to sharing their early experiences of struggles and trying to inspire the youth today. What made you take the leap?
Thank you very much to Hindustan Times and beautiful seminar, and to all of you on the Friday evening, afternoon to be here. Thank you very much. For me, I didn't know anything about social media. Just a couple of years back, my daughter is young and she's insisted that I should come and talk about myself in the social media. And she took the initiative. She had some of her colleagues, and they start working, and I started finding that I thought I am just a piece of nothing. I'm just doing it. But as they keep out opening me, and I find that there's story after story. There are events after events, what happened. So I keep on narrating them, and I keep on telling them, and that's what has happened to social media.
What has been the response that you have received?
They tell me the response because earlier I wanted to be a quiet man. I used to come to India or anywhere, just go. Even I go in London also, and whenever I go, I find that there's somebody who will recognize me, shake hand with me and talk about me. So I'm a little bit conscious now, how I dress, how do I talk. So what I wanted to have a freedom I never wanted in my life to have a security. I never wanted anybody to follow me. I just wanted to eat. कहीं चाट भी खा सकते हैं, कहीं रोड पे खड़े होके मस्ती भी कर सकते हैं. But वो अभी थोड़ा लगता है conscious रहेंगे.
No, but he still does that. On a Friday, first day, first show of every Bollywood movie, he goes alone. If the family doesn't come to the cinema, he gets his popcorn and he watches the movie at peace.
Why not?
So, you're one of the few entrepreneurs, who has emerged from Bihar. I would like to ask you, why hasn't Bihar been able to build on its resource base and offer entrepreneurs like you more opportunities to grow?
No, when Bihar is the place of entrepreneur. When I was growing up, I never heard of Jharkhand. And I could see the biggest mineral was in Jharkhand. What we didn't had, you named it, we have the best of human being, best of skill. We have a Ganges flowing. If you just throw the seed, the crop will grow. You have all the minerals available in Bihar. All the factories when we had the independence was set up around Begusarai, Barauni, Sindri, anything you talk about, it was in Bihar. Even Bihar, so that everything was there. Sometimes takes time, probably. It's only question of time. We are there. And I'm there. I'm looking at a very strong, stable government. And something will happen. There is no question. We are 13 crore people in Bihar. That's a big population and educated, good people. You will see industry will come, lot of activity will happen, tourism will come. So those things, I'm expecting this thing will happen. And I'm also looking to set up something meaningful business in Bihar.
Can you share some details on that? This meaningful business you want to set up, can you share some details?
My business is aluminum. My business is renewable. I'm looking at anything which we can relate. It is possible, but just waiting for the right time to come.
Priya, what about you? Would you like to add to that?
With regards to Bihar, I think Bihar is, Papa's heart and soul. That's where everything started for him. And I know every single day it's in his mind, what can I do to give back to Bihar? What can I do to give back to the people of Bihar? And this is something that we will, I'm sure he will definitely do very, very soon. So really, really, and it's absolutely part of his DNA and heart, so it will happen.
Mr. Agarwal, with Priya sitting next to you, what are the few critical things you would want her to do to ensure that your legacy is protected and perpetuated?
you know, I'm hardcore a business person and very hardcore a human. I understand that India is very important for me. Bharat बहुत important है, and I can see eradicating poverty, creating job, and when I see all over the world has created their wealth below the ground. Anything you talk about is below the ground. And India is, I am a geologist, there is no better earth than India, where everything you talk about is there. But somehow the perception has gone that strong, whereby we still believe in importing. Tell me where the best diamond has come from. From India. Kohinoor diamond has come from India. The largest gold is in India. Copper is in India. Potash is in India. Anything you talk about is in India. So I'm a businessman. It's a tough business. It's a tough business. So I started manufacturing, gone backward integration, and then finally gone into the exploration. And exploration, India has not been explored. Only 2% our land has been explored. And more and more liberal, our startup, the enthusiasm, the entrepreneur class. I lived all 30 years abroad, but the entrepreneur class and the fire, risk-taking ability I see in India, nowhere else in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, a little statistic here about the brilliance of the mind that's amongst us today. Dr. Manish has more than 75 research papers, more than 8,100 citations on Google Scholar, and he personally holds 19 patents in the US. So, Dr. Manish, taking a cue from your Project Astra demo from among all the other things that you talked about, clearly the AI that we are using now, that we become used to, is a fraction of what AI is really capable of in the years to come. How do you envision this developing? What sort of use cases do you see emerging from users? And how does the situational awareness capability kind of plug into that ecosystem?
Yeah. See, the basic thing you can now imagine is a really, really powerful, almost universal agent that will be available at the beck and call for each and every one of us. What I showed you over there were learning kind of scenarios where somebody could just, let's say you are a learner, you could just point it to whatever, some question in your textbook and say, hey, help me answer this question, or help me, educate me on the concepts, right? That will help me answer that question. But it could be, I mean, something as mundane as you take that agent and kind of make it scan everything in your refrigerator before you go shopping at your grocery store and then say, hey, tell me, are we out of milk? Or a blind person having this assistant that can help them explore the world around us. They visit a new place and it can tell them where they are. It can tell them about the entire history or help them even navigate. So I think there's no limit to the kinds of, in fact, there are so many new applications that will emerge as these agents become even more powerful than what I showed today.
A lot has happened at Google DeepMind over the last few weeks. There's the AI protein tool that you referenced, which has gone open source. There's even an AI tool to solve conflicts between human beings. The Gemini team is now part of DeepMind. How does that kind of build towards making AI more relevant for users and for the greater good?
Right. No, that's an excellent question. So I think of it along two dimensions. One is, how do we make sure that the AI itself is being developed in a manner that it's not just working for a privileged few, whatever, for the Western world, but pretty much for every human on the planet, right? Which includes, again, doing all of this foundational work in terms of languages, making sure these models can scale to billions of users at a small cost, as well as applying them, right, in areas like agriculture. We have worked with non-profits like Arman, which is into maternal and child health improvements, and the AI model has been deployed in production to help them, again, do a better job of saving the children's lives, because the statistics are quite humbling. There's a woman who dies at childbirth every 20 minutes in India. Dr. Aparna, who started that non-profit, said, look, pregnancy is not a disease. Women should not be dying of childbirth. Childhood is not an ailment, but there are children below the age of 5 who die. I think there's one child that dies again every few minutes. So how do we kind of bring those benefits? So that's one aspect. The other, I think, where I have been now really trying to get even academia in India excited is the possibilities of AI to accelerate science. What we saw with that protein folding and that protein structure prediction problem is just the tip of the iceberg. You name any problem, be it like discovering new materials, be it like solving the problem of clean energy using fusion, there is that expectation that AI can truly be an enabler to help us solve all of these problems.
Generative AI has become so realistic over the last few months and years that there's now very little difference between a photograph that we may click versus a generation done using a prompt. How do you place the ethical considerations in that scenario?
That's a very important kind of a question. So in fact, one of the technologies that Google recently made available in open source to the entire community is this Synth ID, where what we do is it started with imaging, where we would watermark each image so that anytime an image has been synthetically generated, it's watermarked and there's a very clear indication that this has been AI generated. It's not a natural or a human, whatever, generated image. So we extended that same technology to text, videos and so on is being extended. So we are making technologies like these available so that when there is misinformation being created, we are providing tools to help catch that. Then of course, we also talk about like search being a very, search, you have to have trust in the information that comes back, right? When you're truly looking for that information. So, which is why AI overviews in Google comes with not only that AI generated summary, but all of the links that you can use to actually verify and validate, which serve as references for the information that has been provided to you.
Dr. Manish, Father Time waits for no one, which is why I must quickly ask you this. There have been instances of humans being unwilling to correct AI when AI gets it wrong. Students have got assignments wrong, legal professionals have got into a soup in courts. Are humans incapable of correcting technology when it gets it wrong?
No, it's not a problem of incapability. I think part of it is also educating people about the technologies, not just the potential, but also its limitations. In fact, some of my colleagues had done a human study earlier, and the title of that study was, "Because AI is always 100% correct." Because some of the people who were using these technologies, they believed that AI is that infallible kind of a gospel truth that is coming to them. So there needs to be that recognition, first and foremost, that that is not true. And in fact, in all of these Google products, we do provide those mechanisms where there is a thumbs up or thumbs down kind of a capability, or in addition, there's also that capability for you to correct the AI model's output and provide better output to it. So yes, so I think part of it is developing greater awareness of what some of the limitations of these technologies are, apart from their amazing capabilities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manish.
Thank you.